And welcome back. As I had promised you earlier, talking character and behavioral changes. And today, guess what? We have a guest in the studio, Professor PETER.B.KIBAS, former visiting professor in the entrepreneur field in the University of East Africa. He has worked in various fields and he earns a doctorate from the University of Illinois, as well as the business development and entrepreneurship from the University of New Brunswick in Canada. Prof, it's beautiful having you.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you, and thank you for having me in the studio.
It's beautiful having this kind of a conversation, and having been a person who has gone through such kind of a field, and you have had such kind of a long experience. It really scares me, Prof, that the way people are behaving, the way people take, the trend at which people are changing. You know, today you have a friend, tomorrow that friend you don't know why is just passing by you or is ignoring you. You know, what do you take of what makes people change their behaviors?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cheminingwa, for this interview. I want to begin by saying, number one, we are in a transition stage. Transition stage in terms of our traditional culture, which valued that relationship, the character building. I remember during the time I was growing up, I used to sit under the feet of my grandfather and grandma over the fireplace, and they would tell me about how to relate with the people, how to share, discuss, and be able to be a person of quality in society. Today, the school has taken that space that the children begin at 4 years old, at 5 years old. You know, they go to the nursery school or ECD, and they spend less time now with their parents, and the education system continues up to the time they reach university, like yourselves. Yeah.
So your take on this one is there is some kind of responsibility that parents are lacking to carry out.
Right. Parents don't have enough time with their children because of a number of reasons. One, they are occupied trying to raise fees, food, put food on the table, and that way they have kind of left to the back burner the upbringing of children so that they build that character that is acceptable in society. And so the school system is expected to fill that gap. And you look at the schools are doing a good job, yes. But unfortunately in our country, we are so examination oriented that instead of building the character of the students, primary level and secondary level, they are very busy drilling for examinations. Remember teaching high school, when I was teaching high school, we had time. Examinations were not an emphasis as such as today, because the level of competition is so high today that students don't have that enough time to be able to be mentored. The key thing is mentoring and building their character and behavior so that they're able to see that they have a role in society. And then when they come to university, now they're already young adults, and you can see at the university, a number of them get overwhelmed with a new environment, new friends, people from across the country or beyond, and they have no time really to get into building their character. Except, of course, if they get into programs which the university offers. Besides their professions, there are programs that are normally provided through the Dean of Students, whereby we have guest speakers coming in to talk to students, talk about how the things, have to build their character, build their profession, and how to work, how to think professionally as they become young professionals. So what has happened really here is that a lot of transition taking place very fast, by the way, that is overwhelming, and most likely is also creating this strife that we see among the youth.
So probably, Prof, you know, like right now, you are a Dean of Business in your School of Business in Zurich University. You've gone through various schools. You have been into the USIU, you have been into the Presbyterian University, and you have interacted with the growing generation and the generation that has grown. Do you think there is a gap that is missing, that the generation that grew and the generation that is growing is not bridging?
Yes, I would agree to a large extent that there is that gap that needs to be filled. I look at the students in the School of Business, for example, or the entire university, CITEC University, and other universities I've been to, including Mo University, Kabarak University, and those you mentioned. And there is that gap that is existing.
You were dean. You were deputy vice chancellor.
I was deputy vice chancellor at PETER.B.KIBAS University. Mzee was still alive. And then I was also vice chancellor at Presbyterian University of East Africa. Had that privilege of serving those positions. And we spent a lot of time with student development. We developed at the Presbyterian University of East Africa and even PETER.B.KIBAS University. We're developing what we call student development survey programs, whereby students could be developed in terms of building their character, join the clubs, the societies in this university and colleges, and taking that role of leadership and also being mentored by people from industry. Today, I would advocate for the same thing, that students going through universities should be able to join at least one club or two and be able to go beyond just their education in terms of the technical skills and so on. And even may add here, sir, that what has happened today is employers are looking not only for the technical skills, but the soft skills. A survey was done in the US,
Good point.
touching on what employers looking for. Technical education and skills took on about 40%. 60% comes from that character. Or how does this employee, when they come in, how they fit in into the culture of the organization? How they relate? Has the education changed their thinking in terms of being innovative, being creative, and being people persons? And this is exactly what we're trying to do, even here at PETER.B.KIBAS University, that we're trying to go beyond the technical skills that students are getting.
Prof, do you think class, depression, or family personal problems contribute to character changes and behavioral way that one is structured? You know, Prof, when I go home, during the back times when I used to go home, my friends could run towards me. These days I go home, some of my friends run away or I hide from them, not willing.
Thank you for that question, very good question. I want to say this. We have at the university what we call community service, and we expect students to interact very well at every level. Even when they go home, we emphasize that when break comes in and you have an opportunity to be home in your village or in your cities, in your estate, ensure that you reach out to the others, your colleagues, so that they see you just as themselves, but you have something extra to offer them. And so it's basically a theory that people run away from you. But if a student goes out there from the university or from the college and behaves in a way that shows that they are better than the others, then that's where the problem. But we at PETER.B.KIBAS University emphasize the treating everybody equally, treat others. And as Christians, many of us being Christians in this university, we tell our students, imitate what Christ said. Be a friend of everybody. You have something to offer, they have something to offer. And therefore in our training, even the faculty, we tell them, look, spend time in class, talk with the students, how they react, how they interact with members of society. Because at the end of the day, we live in society. And so there's that gap that needs to be filled, and it can only be filled by concerted efforts by the students themselves, knowing that I belong to society. When I come to university, I'm privileged, yes, but I still belong to society, and I'll go and serve society because that's where you belong. Even you in the fourth estate, you will be talking about doing interviews in the community. Even in the village, those who are in like finance and accounting, they'll be working with people in the community. So we try to bring this out among the students, that you, yes, privileged to be in the college, but beyond that, you are a human being. At the end of the day, all of us are human beings. A professor like myself, I interact with everybody, including the people at the gate. I salute them. Say, yes, you are doing a good job. They have an office of their own. The cleaners, I tell them, hi, how is the job going? It's a good job. Because at the end of the day, we all need one another.
I get a point here, Prof, that there is, apart from the normal way of what we do, like for example, you know, doing our routine, going to school and everything, there is an aspect you're mentioning. There is nobody who is trying to encourage someone. The encouragement is missing.
I want to say this. It's not missing only that we are not looking at the whole totality of the person. Training at the higher level in university, having a degree or diploma and or certificate for that matter, does not make you a superhuman being. You only have skills that are more than someone else who never had that opportunity. Therefore, use those skills to improve humanity. We are serving humanity. That idea of complexity in thinking where you have some kind of either superiority complex or what they call whatever complex, which I wouldn't want to mention. We try to remove that because we are saying we belong to one another. We are all humanity going to serve humanity, whether within your institution or within your village or within your home or beyond. Many of you are training you to go beyond just your own locale and your own country. We look at going beyond. We're training you locally, but we're training for the world. So unless those skills, soft skills of getting to know one another, getting to work with the people of different levels, are built within the students and within the culture in the university, then we miss the point. But this is what we emphasize at ZTech University. Everybody's treated well. When you look at our core values, there's core values that touch on each area, character, and so on, that really bring in the idea of developing a whole person. And this is what was lacking in a number of institutions. And I believe that this can be done through concerted effort to ensure that why are we training for? Where are you working, going to work in? What are institutions doing? Besides the technical skills the students get, what else do we give them? What else do you take home? And that's why we say at ZTech University that you invent your future. Inventing your future in terms of being able to be a total person that feeds society. You feed the mighty and the lowly.
Prof, a question comes here when you talk about we are training ourselves to the world. You've been to various countries, Thailand, South Africa, you've visited, and you've stayed abroad and here in Kenya. Prof, what can you say is developed outside there? What is the kind of a comparison you may say about how we nurture our own African native persons and how they nurture their children? Do you think there is something that we should benchmark or there is something that we should learn, for us who have not maybe lucky to be there?
Thank you for that good question. I was expecting. The difference between nurturing, bringing up young people in the universities and colleges, and even from as low as primary school. The culture, the Western culture, is very interesting. I'm talking about America now and Canada, where it was, and the UK, been Scotland and Ireland. When children are brought up, they know that they have something to offer. They are preparing themselves to serve society, and they take up the attitude of servanthood. That I'm going to serve. So I must get my skills to serve. I'm not going to be a burden to society. I'm not going to be a burden to my parents. When they grow up, at age 16, get where they get the driving license, especially in North America. A student at 16 says, I want that freedom. I want to move out of my parents' home so that I take care of myself. Had cases in point here where I had some students, they were undergraduates, and they said, I'm moving out of home. And that's like freedom, moving from home. I said, where are you going? No, I'm going to rent my own apartment. How would you survive? I'll make sure there's jobs there, or jobs they do. They work in restaurants, in supermarkets, earn their own money. Even if their parents are well-to-do, they will not depend on the parent. They grow up being independent. That level of independence, that level of assertiveness, not being put down or thinking like you are shy, you are not capable. It is that ability that comes in being trained to be a person who thinks I'm able to do anything given an opportunity. And this is what we are lacking. The confidence building in our children is not there. I meet a lot of young families and so on, and the youth, and they tell them, look, you are capable of doing much more. Even when it comes to class, students are leading the way. They'll tell Malimu, I read about this. Sir, what do you think about it? They question what Malimu is teaching based on research. Our own students here is different. They want to receive from Malimu. They want even to go and look for past papers. There's one who was in my office this morning, for example. He's asking me a past papers. I said, just a first year or year one. I said, now, here at the university, we don't talk of past papers. We talk about you gaining the knowledge. You have the opportunity to invent yourself and even question what Malimu is teaching based on your research. And that way, you're building yourself to be a person of confidence, a person who is able to go anywhere at any length without fearing, without looking for favors, without expecting any favor from anybody. It's nothing for free. In fact, one thing I realized also in the Western world is nothing's for free. Even if they give us grants, nothing for free. A child is brought up knowing I'll not anything for free. Even staying your parents' home. As soon as you reach the age of majority, you begin even paying rent to your parents. You are a visitor now in a home. because you are supposed to be capable to be an adult who is able to do things on your own and be able to earn a living. So that is the difference between us. You see here in the African culture, which is another issue altogether, that a child grows up even when they have a family. Parents are saying, oh, my child, my son and daughter, my son, specifically, yes, so daughters get out, my son, they have a home here, I do this for my son. Nothing like that in the Western world. You are an adult. Society expects you to produce, to work. You can't get children just staying at home unless they have a problem in their mental capacity, which means they belong to hospital where they can be able to be taken care of, but they don't hang around parents waiting for parents to give them anything. If anything, if parents will give them inheritance, that's good enough. Otherwise, beyond their anybody, the children grow up knowing I'm independent. Once I reach a level, I move out, and I'm expected by society to be of use to society, not to be a burden to society. This is what's lacking in our education system.
Prof, good point and a good lesson. I'm realizing we have good culture, but bad behaviors. If you tell me at 16 or 18 to move out, I'll be totally irresponsible. That's why our parents hold us to that. And Prof, because I wanted to ask...
Before you talk to responsibility, I want to bring that in because it's behavior also. The level of irresponsibility we talk about is because we have not trusted these children. Trust them. You begin by bringing them by trusting them, not shielding them, say children cannot be able to do this or achieve that. Give them opportunity. Let them learn from you and see what you're doing. And that way, that level of responsibility will be gone. They are irresponsible because they're idle. They're shielded. They're children. For how long will you shield them as children? They must be able an opportunity. If you're in a farm, in a business, whatever, train them so that they are able to see what their parents are doing. And when they grow up, they know I need to be able to be responsible and not responsible.
Prof, before we take a break, because you have water here, you've really spitted out very important points. I want us to talk about how important are conferencing. These days there are less conferences and some kind of like workshops. Can that also be a factor that is contributing as we wind up as well? We will be talking about your personal experience, your advice, because you're talking about parents, leadership, and everything. We think also we want to find a solution. This is The Human Will, and I'm your man, Silas Zero. Every day we discuss. Today is talking character and behavioral changes. Tomorrow we'll be talking about stress. Another day we'll be talking about business, politics, entrepreneurship, and everything is just made food.
That was very genuine. Mom, we are happy you are home because you are now have time for us to listen to us and be able to tell us how, when you are growing up, what are the things that you are taught by grandpa and grandma. I'm also talking about the book. Let me mention that you tagged it. I'm putting up a book, my own book, talking about the title right now is Echoes from the Mountain, Mount Yalgan. I was born, I was bred, I grew up there, I walked to school, and now I'm a professor in a senior university. And I've been to places, I've dined with kings and queens, and because of determination.